Well, it is that time of year once more when there is supposed to be a chill in the air. Right now, today, where I live, it is supposed to reach 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The whole week is supposed to be incredibly hot. I am so sick of summer. Anyway, my favorite time of year is autumn. But do you know what isn't my favorite thing about this time of year? Halloween. Now, did you know that there is another pagan holy day that is celebrated on the same day? Perhaps you've heard of Samhain. Halloween, Samhain. Are they the same? Well, are you ready to find out if there's a difference between them? Let's just get this out of the way. I'm going to say some things in this video that you may not agree with, and that's okay. I actually expect to offend a lot of people and get lots of downvotes, but the angst probably won't be coming from the honest pagans. Whew, now that that is over, let's get to it. Halloween, that abysmal holy day glorifying horror and death, is here once more. And you know, it never ceases to amaze me how we humans, who normally recoil in disgust with the idea of being near dead bodies and communing with evil spirits, put all that common sense aside for one night out of the year. Can someone please tell me why? No. It's not about the candy that is demanded through the age-old art of extortion.
Trick or treat!
It's more than that. It seems to satisfy an evil morbidity in our flesh and a desire to give in to animalistic behavior like worshiping creation, committing crimes such as extortion, vandalism, murder, those kinds of things. No, people celebrate this wicked holy day because mankind is inherently wicked. It's that simple. Now, apart from salvation in Jesus Christ, we are not as good as we think we are. Can I get an amen? Amen. Thank you. Ah, yes. The hypocrisy police will predictably downvote this video or even dare to comment something like, "Judge not lest ye be judged," and of course, hurl their favorite epithet, "You're so legalistic," at me. My answer to their trumped up charges? Not guilty. Now that I've taken the plank out of my eye, meaning I no longer celebrate this pagan and evil holy day, even with so-called harvest parties, I'm officially not a hypocrite. So, please hold still while I remove this speck from your eye. Don't blink. Hold still. So, dear one, let us consider what Halloween is really all about. Is it really some harmless, spooky, autumnal fun, or is it deeply rooted in evil? Should we be alarmed, or is that kind of talk a bunch of superstitious hoo-ha? Now, allow me to inform you, and then you can decide for yourself. Now, better yet, I want to encourage you to do your own third-person type investigation or research to see if what I say is so. In my introductory video, I hopefully made it clear that a holiday in general is really someone's holy day, and a holy day involves ceremony and rituals or rites. In other words, worship. Now then, we need to ask ourselves some questions and get some answers. For instance, why do we even celebrate Halloween? And when did Halloween start? And who started it? Halloween is a modern corruption of the Catholic holy day of All Hallows Eve Day, the day before All Saints' Day. Now, hallow, of course, means to honor as holy or sacred. Now, who are Catholics known to revere besides the Virgin Mary? Why, the mortals that received the clergy's vote of godhood, i.e. the saints, of course. The Catholic Church, in its infinite pagan wisdom, thought it would be a good idea to apply syncretism to the Celtic pagan calendar by messing with their New Year celebrations, namely Samhain. So by moving All Saints' Day from May 13th to November 1st, that made All Hallows Eve fall on October 31st. Now, keep in mind that All Saints' Day was a cover for the pagan Roman holy day of Lemur, which, according to Ovid, a Roman poet born in 43 BC, was started to appease the murdered and vengeful soul of Remus, who was murdered by his own twin brother, Romulus, Rome's namesake. Isn't paganism fun? Said no real Christian ever. Well, that is why Catholics celebrate Halloween, to worship their dead saints, while trying to substitute honest paganism with their Christianized idolatry. So what was the Celtic New Year celebration called? You got it, Samhain. Now, Samhain means end of summer in Old Irish, which is, of course, when it is celebrated at the end of summer. I mean, isn't logic wonderful? To fully understand the origins of this pagan holy day, one must study and study a lot. It can get really confusing, so to save time and headache, just realize that all pagan holy days share a common heritage, the Tower of Babel. Now, I have yet to run across a secular researcher that will admit that the Tower of Babel is the central source of all paganism instead of the Aryan or Vedic civilizations. Now, let me know if you know of any brave scholar that dares to agree with the Bible. There's a lot of information to sift through, and a bit of detective work is involved. I read an interesting article that made sense to me in light of what I was researching a while back, which was Babylonian mystery religions, and I'll have to go back and reread it, if I can even find it. The author of the article made a good case that it was the Roman Catholic celebration of All Saints' Day that really infused most of the current traditions of Halloween we see today. Now, seriously, it is very difficult to get to the root of what is Wiccan and Celtic, or a mix of the two. It's very confusing. So please forgive me for any orthodoxy missteps I may have taken. I really have tried to be accurate. But in true hypocritical style, the Catholic Church solely blames the Druid priests and the simple pagan peoples of Britannia for the current evil celebrations. So typical. Incidentally, the Celts aren't the only nation that has this kind of holy day, a day to appease the bloodthirsty spooks of their departed family members. Other nations have a similar celebration, even Hinduism, which shares many other similarities with the Celtic faith of the Druids. Now, I found that to be quite surprising, and we're going to explore that fact a little bit right here, right now. According to newsgram.com, the Celts, like the Hindus, believed in reincarnation, and since their new year started on November 1st, they believed that on the last night of their year, the Lord of Death, whose name is lost in the darkened past, gathered the souls of the evil dead and condemned them to enter bodies of animals. He then decided what animal form they would take for the next year. The souls of the good dead were reincarnated as humans. They also believed that those who had died in the preceding year were allowed to return to their early homes for a few hours on this day to associate with their families. According to spooky astronomy, Halloween marked the transition between summer and winter, light and dark, and life and death. On that one night, according to folklore, those who had died during the previous year returned for a final visit to their former homes. People set out food and lit fires to aid them on their journey, but remained on guard for mischief the spirits might do. All cultures and religions have similar celebrations, for example, such as maybe the Buddhist, Iroquois, and Mesoamerican cultures, and many, many more. Now, maybe they don't celebrate them on the same day, but they still have them. The celebration of Samhain is the 8th holy day on the Celtic calendar, depicted as an 8-spoked wheel, and so that is why some people say their god's name is Samhain, but it's not. Now, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but with some academic proof, of course. Now, interestingly enough, another idolatrous wheel is actually spoken of in 2 Kings 23:11 that King Josiah destroyed when he was cleaning up the idolatry in the land of Judah. Now, there is a Jewish cult known as Ma'ash Merkava, or work of the chariot that involves a sun chariot, which is a common theme in paganism. Now, what work does this chariot do? As in many idolatrous legends, it pulls the sun across the sky. This action describes their belief of how the sun moves in the sky and keeps time, which is what the sun does, moves and keeps time, according to Genesis 1, verses 14 through 19. Now, that is why the chariot wheel is known as the Wheel of the Year. The chariot that King Josiah destroyed in 2 Kings 23 was dedicated to the worship of the sun. Now, since the Catholic faith usurped true biblical Christianity and conquered much of the world literally by sword and is heavily rooted in Babylonian mystery religion, i.e. sun worship, then it stands to reason that this holy day that is revered by sun worshippers the world over was reinforced and even augmented through Catholic rites that worship the Catholic priesthood, which robbed the temple of the Celtic sun god. And through syncretism, thinking they sanitized Samhain from its paganism, in reality is a glaring example of their hypocrisy. Now, even so, as guilty as the Catholic Church is for their bloodlust, the Druids aren't that innocent either. Now, more on that in a minute. Samhain celebrations can last up to a week. They are marked by festivals of the last harvest, fire dances, feasting, and hanging of pentagram-shaped wreaths, and the laying out of other favorite Samhain decorations and trinkets, like the cornucopia, on a table or altar that commemorates dearly departed loved ones. Sounds innocent enough. Nothing outright sinister there, until you dig a little deeper. Remember, in my last video, I explained the principle of roots, how they are the brains of the plant. So metaphorically, if you dig to the root, then you are actually getting to the brain or even the heart of a matter. The Celts in general and the ancient Irish people specifically were indeed pagan nature worshippers. For them, this time of year is a time when the veil between this world and the spirit world is the thinnest. Now, Druid priests were also considered to be seers or sorcerers, also known as oak knowers. They could even be considered as priests of the Church of Oak. Their ability to obtain knowledge by the observation of nature allowed them to apply that knowledge to other arts such as war, medicine, metallurgy, and navigation. They also would have officiated at human sacrifice rituals that only recently have come to light. Now, you can research the bog people on your own. This is why they were elevated to a high class in their society, and so they were sought out by the kings and common folk of their clans for wisdom and advice. They were able to memorize a great deal of practical and spiritual knowledge and then pass it down to members of their high-ranking class. A remnant example of this practice is fairy tales. But the fairies weren't like we see from Disney, going by their description. Now, I believe they were fallen angels and the Nephilim spoken of in the Bible. Now, thanks to fairy tales, we have all been exposed to the pagan belief of pantheism, a belief that all living things have a soul, even the trees. Now, for some scholarly backbone to support what I've said on this video. Now, let's look at some quotes from some scholars that attribute human sacrifice performed on Samhain, what we now call Halloween, to the Celtic people. The holy day had its beginning in a pre-Christian festival of the dead celebrated by the Celtic people of England, Ireland, and Scotland. The festival observed at this time, called Samhain, was the biggest and most significant holy day of the Celtic year. At this crease in time, might not the spirits of generations departed find it appropriate to mingle with the living? The Celts practiced an elaborate religion through their priestly caste, the Druids. This is found in Natural History magazine, October 1983, pages 43 through 44. The Celtic Festival of the Dead, Samhain, was an occasion marked by burning human offerings. This is found in the Druids and Their Heritage, page 24, Ward Rutherford. In the 8th century, All Saints' Day was moved to November 1st, or Samhain, from its original date, May 13th, which in Roman times had been a day dedicated to the Lemures, malevolent gods which drank human blood. This is found in The Black Arts by Richard Cavendish, page 334. Human sacrifice was a frequent and common element in their religious procedure. No sacrifice might be carried out except in the presence of a druid. We are informed by Keating that the Irish druids on the eve of Samhain burned their victims in the holy fire. This is found in The History and Origins of Druidism, page 104 and 105, Human Sacrifice, Lewis Spencer. Now, according to these chilling quotes, Samhain is looking more and more like a nefarious holy day, despite what we see in current public festivities. Since the Druids didn't leave very much written information about themselves, this can be a problem in that some not-so-honest people can write them a history or borrow from them without giving proper credit. So now we have to rely on the Romans and Greeks or other nations that came into contact with them and kept written records of their encounters with them. Not always the best thing, but it's better than nothing, I guess. But because of the lack of Celtic written records, researchers balk at the claims of ritual sacrifice in Roman accounts. And according to the Greeks, the Druids were admired for their knowledge and skill. Meanwhile, the Romans thought them to be barbaric and bloodthirsty by their own cultured standards, since the Druids engaged in human sacrifices and cannibalism, something the Romans supposedly abhorred. Yeah, I know. Such hypocrites when one considers the Romans' adoption of Saturnalia with its human sacrifice, but they had to make some lame moral excuse to extinguish the Druids and the influence they held over the nobles, right? Now, we'll get to that Greek and Roman pagan human sacrificing holy day in a few months. So, to be clear, Samhain was the original Celtic New Year holy day celebration celebrated on October 31st, honoring the end of summer and the dead, until the Catholic Church ruined their honest pagan holy day with its syncretism. And now we have the unholy day, abomination of Halloween. Now, I hope that this video, at the very least, has given you some food for thought as to the origins of this Celtic pagan holy day, and that you will begin to see why syncretism is something that God and even the honest pagan absolutely, truly hates. Thanks for tuning in, dear one, and I look forward to seeing you next week as I continue on in my mission to see if what they, the Christian clergy, say about the holy days is so. Bye-bye for now.